This is our renewable wind system proposal. I'm Ben Mull.
I'm Aidan Appler.
I'm Clay Craddock.
I'm Vladimir Victorin.
So this is just a little bit about our team here. We're environmental consultants aiding in both commercial and residential renewable energy ventures. We're trying to just forecast the best possible route for financial stability and also potential growth. We pride ourselves on taking consideration of our clients' goals, and we also do our best to assess how we can provide attainable and fulfilling results.
So here's some team roles we all played. So I'm Aidan, and I played a role in determining specific system requirements. This includes size of the system and the project location. In addition to analyzing how the renewable energy tax credit greatly benefits this project.
My name's Ben. I facilitated conversations between the team members and also gathered wind speed data and researched the self-generation incentive program and its ability to contribute to this proposal and meet the client's needs.
Yeah, I'm Clay. I was able to put the team members in contact with each other, and I was also able to gather information about the interconnecting process and policy and how it would be used towards this proposal.
I'm Vladimir. I gathered information about the net metering for California and how much you can save annually on electricity based on wind turbines.
So when we started on this project and compiling this proposal, we wanted to make sure that we were well-versed and focused on what the goals of the client were. So when we talked to the client initially, they had some major points they wanted to make sure that were taken care of. And the first being they're improving their public image. So by owning and operating a renewable energy generation system, the public in that area will be able to see your real commitment to goals of cleaner energy production and a reduction in your carbon footprint. They also want to make sure that it was financially stable. So if you utilize various policies and incentive programs that are listed farther on in this presentation, it'll be instrumental in acquiring funding as well as support in the first years of the system's operation. It was important for them to be environmentally conscious. And one of the best ways to practice an environmentally conscious lifestyle is to begin with ensuring that energy you use at home comes from a source that is clean and sustainable.
So some more specific goals we had from our client here. The first one was to be completely self-sustainable in a grid-tied system. And this involved implementing a system that could sustainably fulfill 100% of their demand, your demand. And they roughly demanded 1,000 kilowatt hours per month on average. And that's a little higher than your average demand. However, we have to keep in consideration this was a home and office system. Additionally, we wanted to exceed the requirements. So this is ensuring enough energy to supply electricity to a barn dominium. Like I mentioned before, is a combined home and office barn dominium, and while simultaneously supplying energy back to the grid in return for credit from the local utility. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Lastly, our client wanted a comprehensive understanding of their system. So a thorough understanding of how your system works, including but not limited to energy storage techniques, everyday conservation practices, and general comprehension of the system.
So just to get us started here, this is just a project outline that we put together. Locations in Corning, California. And we're just looking today at just a residential small wind turbine system as talked about in the goals. A 5 kilowatt horizontal axis turbine. And all we need here is a capacity to supply one barn dominium / office with enough energy.
So the location of this project is going to be conveniently located in Corning, California. Corning, California is conveniently just about 15 minutes outside, it's conveniently located just about 15 minutes outside of Corning, California, in Tehama County to be specific. The address is 0 Cattle Drive Road, Corning, California, 96021. And it's about 22.35 acres in total. And the property here is currently listed at roughly $150,000. Some positives of this property here is it's already grid tied. So getting the grid and the utilities all the way out are not too big of a hassle. And additionally, the biggest pro of this property is that it's completely undeveloped with no disruption of trees or any land clearing needed. Yeah. And here you can see there's a few pictures of the property. It's a vast property, lots of open space. There is running water on the property, not that that's applicable for the project here. However, it's a very nice property, very nice views, and lots of room for installing these wind energy systems.
As previously stated, this is a residential project, so it will not be subjected to any bills or taxations as a large-scale company. The average U.S. household consumes around 886 kilowatt hours of electricity per month. This is equivalent to roughly 10,632 kilowatts per year. Given the demands, we estimate roughly 1,000 kilowatt hours will be required to power this home and office combination.
And so you kind of give us some information that proves us why this is a good site for wind-powered generation. What you see here on the screen is a map of the wind speed averages around the state of California, and represented by that red star is where this property is located. It actually sits in the upper half of annual wind speeds on that multi-year average, which gives you some security in knowing that sometimes winds don't blow, but in this area of the state, more often than not, they're going to be on the above average side of speed and be able to sustain a good amount of production for this new system.
So like Ben mentioned in the previous slide, we got a good amount of wind potential in this area. And if you look at this chart down in the bottom right-hand corner before I even begin, this specific turbine I found will produce about 17,877 kilowatt hours per year with 7 meters per second wind speed and average. And that's pretty good. The average household is roughly 10,000 kilowatt hours per year demand. And we have that by far with this one system. So given our demands, we just would recommend one turbine. And the specific turbine I found was called Britwind R9000, and they're sourced from the UK. However, upon research and everything I could find, they were the best turbine out there, especially for this project. They require little maintenance, and they're very, very, very efficient. So this would be a 5 kilowatt turbine, and it has a rotor diameter of about 5.5 meters. So it's not too big. However, it's pretty tall at a 20 and a half meter height. And the larger the height, the higher the height, the better wind capacity you're going to have, the greater wind capacity you're going to have, and the more energy you're going to produce. So again, just overall, the overall energy yield is about 17,877 kilowatt hours, and that should be plenty for this site.
Some policies and incentives of interest for our project would include interconnection and net metering, and incentives would be self-generation incentive programs and residential renewable energy tax credits.
So when we talk about the interconnection policy and part of this, the interconnection process is a set of requirements and procedures for utilities and customers alike. And thankfully, we're set in California, and because of their laws, it is much easier for a small project such as this wind turbine to get interconnected and to get put on the grid. There is less impact on the power grid, and it's less costly because it's such a small project. The first step is to complete the small generator interconnection request form, and this is a form that all small generators have to fill out in time. The next step is you have to pay the interconnection request fee once that goes through. And next is you take the feasibility study, and this is a cost estimate, and it takes into account the generator type, size, and potential larger system impacts. Next, you'll take the system impact study, which includes a power flow, short circuit, voltage, stability, and a system protection analysis. This is all to make sure that your wind turbine, your system is up and running and will be able to get transferred to the grid. One of the last steps is when the facility study is taking place, and this is going to specify and estimate the cost and time schedule for the modifications that are needed to implement the recommendations from the system impact study. Once this is done, the interconnection agreement can be signed, and this just states that our client will pay for any system upgrades as outlined and will keep the system up to date and keep it running properly and according to all the laws and guidelines that are intact.
Talking about net metering first can best be described as a system in which private renewable energy generators can be connected to a public utility power grid. There, the surplus of power that is generated to the grid will allow the customer to have some sort of compensation from the energy that they generate. Some pros to net metering would be the lower overall electricity bill that you'll be able to obtain. Some negatives, however, would be that it's possible that the electricity prices for homes that do not generate their own power would go up due to you generating your own energy. And it can also work to the disadvantage of low-income households and small businesses due to their own electricity bill increasing. According to California state law, systems that are designed to provide more power than a home can use are not eligible for the net metering program, meaning that if a system were to, say, exceed 5 megawatt hours of power generation per year, it is not allowed to be inducted into the net metering program. And homes that generate less than 1 megawatt of electricity annually can be subject to a one-time fee of up to $150. In the state of California, at the end of any 12-month billing period, any balance of surplus electricity is trued up at a separate fair market value, known as a net surplus compensation. The rate for this compensation is approximately 2 cents to 3 cents per kilowatt hour. Our wind turbine that we are planning to install to our site would generate about 17,877 kilowatts per year, assuming that it is a constant speed of 7 mile per hour winds that we get. The home is said to consume around 10,632 kilowatts per year. Subtracting both of these numbers, we would end up with around 7,245 kilowatt hours of surplus. And if we were to multiply that by the rate, we would end up with around $217.35 returned to us as compensation. Now, Californians pay an average monthly electric bill of around $101.49. So assuming our system were to run at a maximum efficiency year-round, we can save the equivalent of 2 monthly electricity bills.
So looking at some of these incentives, there's a lot of things out there, but one thing that can really be capitalized on in this instance is rebate programs. And so essentially what a rebate program is, a refund for some portion of a price of a purchase. In this case, of the renewable energy system, the purchase being rebated would be the cost of the system's construction. So that rebate amount is calculated according to the capacity of the system and its output. In California, they have a self-generation incentive program. It is a rebate program. It's administered by the California Public Utilities Commission. And for systems below 30 kilowatts, such as this one, the rebate payment is received upfront regardless of actual power production. Larger facilities and systems actually have to wait, and the amount they get is dependent on how much power they produce. But since this is a smaller residential system, you'll be able to get that upfront without any worry of having back payment. And with this system, you'll receive about $2 per watt of power generated to offset those initial construction costs. And this program has actually been so successful that it was extended 3 separate times. from expiration dates due to the efficiency and beneficiary approval and the people that were able to use it. We're in such approval of it that it was extended. And this program applies to more than just wind powered energy production. It gives you an opportunity for growth and diversity in your renewable portfolio if you decide to take other ventures on the site.
So here we look into the next incentive, and that has to do with tax credits. So a quick little synopsis on tax credits. What is a tax credit? So a tax credit is a dollar for dollar reduction in the amount of income tax you would otherwise owe. So for example, claiming a $1,000 federal tax credit reduces your federal income taxes by $1,000. And these are often referred to as investment tax credits, ITC. Yeah. So an incentive there in California with small scale residential renewable energy systems such as wind systems, they offer a residential renewable energy tax credit. So this is a personal tax credit incentive, and it's administered by the U.S. IRS, Internal Revenue Service. And for this specific system, they may claim 30% of their total expenditure if placed in service after December 31st, 2021 and before January 1st, 2023. And these total expenditures include labor costs for on-site preparation, assembly or system installation, and piping or wiring to interconnect the system to a home. This basically is saying all the expenditures that are involved with construction and implementation of the system to get it up and running, those will all be able to be deducted. So here's a few additional resources I have for the client involving residential renewable energy tax credits. So I have a quick link from TurboTax, just summarizing tax credits and all, and then some comprehension, some further comprehension of the incentive here. You can see Energy Star has a good bit of information, and yeah.
Yeah, and same thing here with the self-generation incentive program. There is a link to the frequently asked questions from the utility company in this area of California, which is Pacific Gas and Electric. And then there's also data on the metrics of the program and its performance over the last couple of years on the second link. We want to thank you guys for your time, and we hope to hear from you soon.